Well,
Yes.
everybody, welcome, welcome, welcome to the Wondrous Baha'i Calendar podcast. Today is Istighnal Kamal Mashiyyat 181 Baha'i Era, which is to say, the day of majesty and perfection in the month of Will, the 181st year of the Baha'i Era, and it is October 3rd, 2024. This meeting is being recorded and it will be rebroadcast. Generally, we expect to make the meeting publicly available the Monday after the recording that's on YouTube. Our purpose for this gathering is to explore the many significances of the Baha'i calendar and to share ideas about how to implement the calendar for daily living. Throughout the program, you will hear us using both the Arabic and the English names for the calendar and the months, days, and weekdays. This is intentional. Our goal is to grow in awareness, understanding, and accessibility.
One God, one religion, one humanity. Baha Jalal, Jamal, Azamat, Nur Rahmat, Kalimat, Kamal Asma Izzat, Mashiyyat Qudrat, Qaul Masail Sharaf, Sultan Mulk, Ayami Allah.
Okay, well, we had the song in two parts, but that's cool. So here's the order of program for today. We, of course, have just now had our meditation, and we will be having a meditation led by my co-host, Nancy Nelson Ewing, which will help us orient to the space. Then we will have prayers for the month, the day, and the weekday. That will be followed by calendar concepts by co-host Cora Palazzalo. Today's spiritual attributes, I will be leading that portion. And then about emeralds. We're finally getting into gems this month with Nancy Nelson Ewing. We're going to do our birthday shout out. We started that last month. And then we're going to do something very podcast-esque, which is to have a conversation on the topic of the divine attribute of will. And of course, we will close out with our arts social. I want to remind everyone that the arts social is in fact not going to be recorded. It's not going to be broadcast. So if you want to share and be on camera, please, we want you to during that portion of the program. Beyond that, though, of course, we invite you to drop any thoughts, comments, ideas, questions in the chats, and hopefully we get to them. And if we don't, well, we'll get to them eventually. So, but with that, Nancy, I'm going to turn the, what do you do? Turn the table over? Yield the table? I don't know. Do something that you're on.
Your choice, your choice. All of that sounds good. Thank you,
Okay.
Tamara, for that wonderful, warm welcome and welcome everyone. Yes, this is the meditation portion so that we can all kind of get our energy in alignment and be in the space and be present. I'm calling this a meditation of rejuvenation and hope. And I'm going to ask everyone right now to please just get comfortable in your space where you're sitting and just kind of make that adjustment, drop your shoulders and maybe roll them a little bit and then just kind of drop them and relax. Close your eyes. I'm going to ask us to focus on our breath, our breathing, and inhaling through our nose on a count of 3 and exhaling through our mouth on that 4th count. And for every inhale and exhale, we just want to get more and more comfortable. So for these first few seconds, let's inhale. On that exhale, just allow your body to just get more and more comfortable. Eyes closed. You can focus on your third eye or put yourself in a place of comfort, of specialness, wherever you want that vision to be. And now we're going to bring our focus to the elements and energy and dynamics of the emerald stone. I'm going to inhale and envision your breath with the deeply beautiful, bright, iridescent, comforting energy of the emerald and its divine healing powers. And I want us to will that breath to seek out any sorrow or sadness, any doubt you may have in your mind of how wonderful, worthy, and noble you are, and will that healing emerald breath to scoop out any of that self-doubt or sadness or any fear you may have of believing in your talents and abilities. And on that exhale, will that breath to discard it away from your body. It is no longer a part of your thinking. And this time, as you inhale, I want you to will that emerald breath to fill your mind with a renewed energy of hope, joy, compassion, possibility, determination. Just really allow it to just fill your thoughts with all of that positive energy. I want you to claim it and be it. And again, as you inhale, envision this beautiful, powerful emerald breath, seeking out any physical bodily pain from your head to toe, any discomfort in your back, neck, knees, head, any ailments or concerns. Envision this emerald breath, this divine healing energy wrapping itself around the pain, the discomfort, and gently scooping it up and carrying it out through your exhale, discarding it away from your body. It is no longer a part of you. And on your next inhale, allow yourself to will the emerald breath to replace the pain and discomfort with a healing balm to be pain-free, leaving you feeling totally relaxed and comfortable in your skin. Claim it and be it. And let's just take a little time now as we sit inhaling and exhaling and just enjoy that renewed feelings, that renewed feeling of the mind and the body and the willful energy. And within the next 10 seconds, please open your eyes, willfully being rejuvenated, joyful, and empowered. Claim it, be it.
Nature is God's will and is its expression in and through the contingent world. It is a dispensation of providence ordained by the ordainer, the all-wise. Were anyone to affirm that it is the will of God as manifested in the world of being, no one should question this assertion. It is endowed with a power whose reality men of learning fail to grasp. Indeed, a man of insight, can perceive naught therein, save the effulgent splendor of our name, the Creator.
Praised and glorified art thou, O God. Grant that the day of attaining thy holy presence may be fast approaching. Cheer our hearts through the potency of thy love and good pleasure, and bestow upon us steadfastness, that we may willingly submit to thy will and thy decree. Verily, thy knowledge embraceth all the things that hast created or wilt create, and thy celestial might transcendeth whatsoever thou hast called or wilt call into being. There is none to be worshipped but thee. There is none to be desired except thee. There is none to be adored besides thee, and there is naught to be loved save thy good pleasure. Verily, thou art the supreme ruler, the sovereign truth, the help in peril, the self-subsisting. Sabbath.
All praise, O my God, be to thee who art the source of all glory and majesty, of greatness and honor, of sovereignty and dominion, of loftiness and grace, of awe and power. Whomsoever thou willest, thou causest to draw nigh unto the most great ocean, and on whomsoever thou desirest, thou conferrest the honor of recognizing thy most ancient name. Of all who are in heaven and on earth, none can withstand the operation of thy sovereign will. From all eternity, thou didst rule the entire creation, and thou wilt continue forevermore to exercise thy dominion over all created things. There is none other God but thee, the Almighty, the most exalted, the all-powerful, the all-wise. Illumine, O Lord, the faces of thy servants, that they may behold thee, and cleanse their hearts that they may turn unto the court of thy heavenly favors, and recognize him who is the manifestation of thyself and the dayspring of thine essence. Verily thou art the Lord of all worlds. There is no God but thee, the unconstrained, the all-subduing. Baha'u'llah. And so with that, friends, thank you for sharing in these brief devotions. We will now turn the program over to Cora, who will take us all through some key calendar concepts.
Try saying that 3 times fast. Okay, let's see. In the process of sharing, can you see my calendar?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, we can.
So here we have, and I know some of you are returning, so but I'm thinking you may be familiar then with this format of looking at the Baha'i calendar in a circular pattern. And this is just the outside structure to begin our calendar concepts. So in the Baha'i calendar, oh, okay, let's see, maybe this one. Is this one? There we go. Yes. In the Baha'i calendar, we have 19 months, and each of the 19 months is named after a spiritual quality. And as you can see, as we're going around the clock face, these are all the names of the spiritual quality, starting with the name of splendor, which is always the first night, usually or is our feast night. Usually it is at night, but sometimes it's during the day. The first day within the Baha'i month is also called the Day of Splendor, and that will be represented here. The 19 days in the month are also the same days as the spiritual qualities of the months. So here we are, we're in the 11th month of the Baha'i calendar, pointing to Mashiyyat, which is the month of will, Mashiyyat and will. And then when we want to know, well, what day of the month are we in? I'm going to go back a couple of days. On the 6th day after the first day of feast, the 6th day was the day of mercy or Ramat, and that was just on Tuesday. Our next day, then Wednesday, yesterday, was the day of Kalimat or words. Today, and I mean literally in the day, the day of perfection or Kamal. And when the sun goes down, now I'm on the West Coast and I know you're on the East Coast. So I'm wondering, has the sun gone down yet?
It has actually.
It has.
It
So
has.
yes, that's what I thought. So
Yeah.
here we are, actually, your time, the day of names, the 9th day in the Baha'i feast month of the 9th day of Asma in the month of will.
Oh my goodness.
And what's fun, you know, is here I'm still in the day of perfection. So I'm working hard on my perfection right now. And so if we go here, like I said, it on your side, the day of names in the month of will. To think about those combinations, this quote from the calendar cards happens to be a Baha'i quote. These are interfaith cards. And I was looking at, when I created this, the spiritual quality of the day within the month. So it's an interesting combination, the names of will. And the quote that is presented is, "O thou, the possessor of all names, the minds of the profoundest thinkers are sore perplexed as they contemplate the ocean of thy knowledge and the heaven of thy wisdom. How can he who is but a creation of thy will claim to know what is with thee or to conceive thy nature?"
Mm.
And the meditation for this card is, trusting in God's unfathomable will is an act of faith that opens our will to greater spiritual realities. When was a time when you trusted the unknown? And I just thought I would share that when I answer this question, it's on a daily basis, right? on a daily basis. I'm working to trust the unknown. I also wanted to point out that in combining these two qualities, names of will, we come up with this first phrase, "O thou, the possessor of all names." And I think of us as humans and our names. And I think of God as possessing us and our human names. And then I think of the names within nature. It just goes on and on. Just those first 6 words in this quote is enough for me to meditate on for quite some time. And that's the end of our calendar concepts for right now.
Thank you, Cora. So I put in the chat, everybody, that beautiful display that Cora did is actually how she laid out these beautiful cards that you can actually purchase. And I put the link to her website there. They are a treat, and it is really wonderful to have that opportunity. Hi, Marilyn. Hey, look at the crew. Hey, Tina. Hi, Deirdre. Hi, John. Hi, Alice. So anyway, as I was saying, the cards are really a treat. They're really delightful to have. And so, oops, okay, let's come out of this. And so, if you get a chance to get them, I recommend that you do, or get some of them, because she has it nicely organized so that you can buy just some at a time. Okay, I'm going to now move into, I'm doing the wrong thing. I'm gonna now move into presentation of the spiritual qualities for today. Cora has already actually touched on it somewhat, but let's see it from another perspective. Okay. And before I go too deeply into this presentation, I was just mentioning Cora's very beautiful cards. I also, when I realized that the elements of the Baha'i calendar are so profound, and there's so much within every single day to take in, I wanted to be able to visualize it. And so I conceptualized cards also. Slightly different way of dealing with the cards, but I conceptualized them. I've designed them for the most part. I have what I'm showing you now is prototypes of the cards. And if anybody would like to see these cards come into fruition, which I hope that everybody will, I'm actually trying to raise funds so that it can happen. So if you're willing, I would be grateful. I've lost Zoom. Where's Zoom? Okay, here we go. So I'm putting the link to supporting my little Indiegogo campaign in the chat. And with that, I'm just going to keep it moving. I'm going to do this a little different than I have because you've seen some of these cards before. And I'm going to start, first of all, with the month, which is Mashiyyat, or will. As you can see, other translations of the month of Mashiyyat shown are purpose, the primal will, and the will of God. This is very useful information for our reflection on what the Bab meant when he named the month. Also remembering, as Cora just shared, that the 19 days of the month are named in the same order as the 19 months of the year. When we started this program, it was actually the 8th day of Mashiyyat, or Kamal / perfection. How do we understand perfection and will together? So Cora gave us a beautiful outline of how we might understand those two things together. Can we be perfected by aligning ourselves with God's will? Okay, for those of us like myself who are on the East Coast, somewhere around 2 minutes after, after we started the program, it suddenly became the 9th day of the month. And so here is the 9th day of the month card. Again, you saw this with Cora. You saw that it's the day of Asma, which is names. I really love that we have this opportunity to reflect on names and will together. Other names for Asma names are titles, attributes, and designations, all of which are, of course, very closely aligned with purpose. And then finally, today is Istiqlal, which means majesty. It is the name of the weekday. The Badi calendar, or the Baha'i Wondrous calendar, has names for the months, has names for the days of the months, and it also has names for the days of the week. So Thursday is Istijlal. It means majesty. As was mentioned in several occasions, last 3 actually, we are still in the months of exaltation of unity. There are actually 6 months of the exaltation of unity, or the water months, as I'm going to call them. So on the back of every one of the water cards, you will see this image. This is a picture of the Universal House of Justice. I don't think you get a better representation of unity than the House of Justice, but you also get a beautiful quote. When we think about water, and we have lots of different ideas about it, but I think again that it's always valuable to really kind of orient ourselves and contextualize what we understand about water by looking at what the Bab intended when he put these months in this category. So he says that the months of the exaltation of unity, in the months of the exaltation of unity, God causes the beings to expire, not as a physical death, but the death of negation and life in affirmation. And again, I just want to offer this quote from Baha'u'llah. He says, if our bodies be at times weighed down by our troubles, yet our souls rejoice with exceeding gladness. We swear by thy might, O thou who art the desire of our hearts and the exaltation of our souls, every trouble that touches us in our love for thee is an evidence of thy tender mercy. Every fiery ordeal, a sign of the brightness of thy light. Every woeful tribulation, a cooling drought. Every toil, a blissful repose. Every anguish, a fountain of gladness. Very, very interesting way to think about the idea of water. So, again, I want to come here to this discussion of the day of the week, which is Thursday, or Istiqlal, or Majesty. There are only 7 weekdays, and they also have names and elements, as I've mentioned. The elements follow the pattern of the elements of the calendar as well. The first 3 days are fire, air, and then water. And then the next 4 days have earth in them, but the 3 days, the first 3 days after, are both earth and. So for Thursday, Istiqlal, it's earth and water. Very interesting. I want you to take note. We'll talk about them in just a minute, about at all the symbols at the top. We've got a symbol of earth and a symbol of water. We have a symbol of a body in there's a word for that and it won't come, but I'm going to say this child pose in yoga, and also a lotus sitting person. I chose these images specifically because of what they represent. The lotus sitting person is someone who is representing the realm of the heart. That is to say, I don't mean the heart, I mean to say the realm of the self. That is to say, the portion of us that understands ourselves as ourselves. And it is this self that we're constantly seeking to refine and submit and submerge into the will of God. That is this idea of unity, that the drop becomes the ocean. And then this physical pose of the body, the whole body, this is the most grounded pose in the cards. It is the pose that represents the most physical of all the elements, the one that is represented by earth and the physical manifestation, both of the actual manifestation of God, but of also of all of life and all of nature. So when we see the element of earth, what we're looking at is the realization of reality in our lives. And so with that, I'm going to now turn over the screen to Nancy, who's going to talk a little bit about the element that is most prevalent in our period of time today.
Well, thank you, Miss Tamara. I also noticed there was another symbol there. I'm pulling up my screen right now, which was that of a gem. And that gem happens to be the amazing, powerful emerald. And it's very interesting that the Bob, as I'm sure most of you know, was the founder creator of the initial body calendar. And he invoked, I believe it was 4 stones. I believe it was the emerald, ruby, topaz, and wait, I might have to call for help, and diamond.
Diamond, yeah, you had
Okay,
it.
good. So out of all of the gems, those are the 4 gems that he spoke of. And so I went on a journey, a gem journey, since this is the month of will. And this symbol is part of, it's part of the whole calendar really, but we're talking about this particular gem today to find out just a little bit more about the emerald. I know, crystals are known to have all of these kinds of properties and energies for healing and various things. And although, we know about these gems as birthstones, if you're born in the Gregorian month of May, the emerald is your birthstone, but it has many attributes. The emerald is believed by many, from the ancient Egyptian, Greeks, Incas, to be a healing gemstone for ailments of the body and the mind. And the color itself, the color green and the soothing properties of an emerald would bring, they believe that it would bring relief to the eyes and heal vision. If you had any kind of ailments in your eyes, and they would treat the eyes with emeralds that had been soaked in water overnight and then poured the water over your eyes as one way, one type of healing that was done that I discovered on my gem journey. Also about the heart, the ancient healers believed that wearing or being near an emerald would promote wellness of the heart. You always think of the rose stone as that as well. And it also has rejuvenating qualities. Because of their mythological rejuvenating qualities, emeralds are thought to revitalize tired organs and treat parts of the body like the kidneys, pancreas, and the immune system. And it also brings about the soothing energy that generates a freshness and vitality in the spirit of the wearer, a stone that embodies patience and compassion. The stone imbues the wearer with those same qualities while enhancing mental clarity and focus. This is why I used this in my meditation earlier. Calmness and chaos. When kept in the workplace, the emerald is said to have an energy that promotes creativity, harmony among team members. It is thought to bring focus and activate creativity. And here the emerald is known as the gemstone. For those born in spring, it is thought to bring renewed life force, success in new ventures, and good health. The emerald is also said to help the wearer see things clearly and rationally, encourage meditation and reflection, and bring out the natural wanderer, explorer, and scientist. And I also discovered that there's some organization that makes a tea out of certain gems, like the emerald, and I believe they have a ruby tea, and I just thought that was fascinating. And these gems have been around since the beginning of Earth, so you would have to imagine that they hold a lot of power, like trees and all of these things in nature. So we're going to do some more research on why it is the Bob invoked those four stones in particular. And that completes my journey on the gem emerald.
Wow.
Thank you, Nancy. That was amazing. I need to find out, how do I go get emerald tea?
Exactly. I want some too.
Right? It's like,
Okay, I'm gonna do a thing right now. First of all, right now I think everybody's kind of basically equal unless you have your screen set for speaker view. But what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna spotlight our three co-hosts here. And okay, Alice says her birthstone is the emerald. We're gonna ask about that in a little while, but let me actually see. Actually, we're gonna ask about that now. I was getting ready to do a thing, but I'm gonna pause. Cora, we have birthday shout outs right about now.
Yes, yes. We want to know, does anyone in the audience have their month in the Baha'i month of Will? And that would mean in the Gregorian calendar, your birthday would fall between September 25th and October 14th. So you can raise your hand, you can put your name in the chat, you can shout out. Does anyone have their birthday in the month of Will?
No birthdays in the month of Will.
okay.
Darn,
Wow.
I had the birthday song already.
Well,
Next
you have,
time, hopefully.
Next time,
right.
next time. Oh, actually, I know that next time we have some birthdays, so, okay.
And if you send it to me, I have a friend, at least one, who was born in the month of Will. And if my mother was able to be here, she would, yes. So, yeah.
I will happily send it. I will
Oh,
happily send it.
thank you.
Okay, so now I will do the thing. So we
Okay.
said that we've called this thing a podcast. And of course, podcasts are not typically presentations on screens, they're typically more conversational. And so we are going to have a conversation now. I'm going to spotlight. I'm going to spotlight. Yeah, I'm going to spotlight each of our co-hosts to engage with this conversation around the quality of will. But what I also want to do is invite everyone here to make good use of the chats. We've been seeing folks in the chats all along. If you have conversation, questions, thoughts, as we're going along in this discussion, we very, very much welcome that conversation. Also, I'm going to set up a timer because we definitely want to leave some time for our art social. So we don't want to just talk. And seriously, the three of us are doing this because if you get us talking, we will keep talking. So I'm going to set a timer so that we actually stop at a particular point. But please, as we're going along, if you have any questions, if you have any thoughts that you'd like to contribute, put them in the chat. If we have the opportunity to ask your question in the conversation, we will do exactly that. And with that, I'm going to invite Nancy to get us started.
Oh, thank you, Tamara. And actually, before I start, I don't know if you guys can tell, but this is actually an emerald, not a real emerald, but an emerald that my mom used to wear back in the 50s when she was going out and
Wow. It's
being the social
gorgeous.
butterfly that she was. It's actually very nice, but you can't really
You wear it well, and I feel your mom's energy all in it.
Right? And I wished I would have got the emerald memo.
You're wearing the earth memo. That's the earth that you're
You're right.
wearing, the
This is
flowers.
the earth. Flowers, they need water
Flowers
and air.
and the red, yes.
Mhm.
We're all in alignment. We're all in alignment. So yeah, so we wanna sort of have a discussion about will, and we created questions for each other, some good food for thought. And I'm gonna just start out by asking, and Tamara, feel free to be the first to answer if you'd like. Um, and as I was thinking, it's like will is like one of these duplicitous kinds of words, like, free will, I will, all this kind of stuff. So, but it also could mean something else. So here's my question. What is the difference in a human being's life between willfulness and stubbornness? I pose that to you, my dear.
It's a great question to ask Tamara because she's typically both, but but well, uh, I will share that just in other traditions in which I participate in, specifically, especially 12-step traditions, willfulness is not a good thing, right? It's not terribly different. It's like a adjacent cousin to stubbornness, right? It's really close, because it has to do with when our will exceeds, right? Exceeds boundaries. It's like my will is now very, very selfish. Stubbornness being just, unmovable, which is not quite the same thing, but the idea of willfulness is willfulness in the spiritual traditions that I tend to lean into is not a good quality, right? But I wanna invoke a different aspect of will that we don't always think of. We think of will, we think of strength and power. We don't always think of willingness.
Mhm.
And it occurs to me that in this month, and especially because it's aligned with this idea of water, and relinquishing of the self for our sake of our higher self, that willingness is more what we're going for. So
Yeah, yeah. Good point. It's
Gloria,
the,
you want to add anything to that?
oh my gosh. Thank you for asking. So willfulness to me follows more along the spiritual quality. And so I think of will, capital WILL, and being full of God's will, right? There's the little will, human will, and then God's will. And so when I juxtapose that with stubbornness sounds like human will to me. A willful, to be full of God's will, means that I'm, to the best of my knowledge and ability at the moment, following the laws of God, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I agree, but I remember as a child, my mom would always say to me, "Oh, she's so willful. Oh, she's so willful. What a willful child." In the tone of her voice, it didn't sound like a very good thing, right? It sounds like I was being a bad girl. But because we're approaching it from a spiritual perspective, right? This willfulness, as opposed to stubbornness, I think is to aid us in staying in alignment, right? The willfulness to stay in alignment and not get distracted by, the negative outside ne'er-do-wells that are always, knocking on our doors, so to speak. And so having that willfulness, that self-will, connecting with the will of God, this is sort of how I'm choosing to interpret it, as opposed to stubbornness that is without any of those qualities at all. It's just a hard no and unmovable,
Mhm.
which it takes will to be stubborn, but it's not a spiritual energy. It's a more negative energy, the stubbornness. So there, I answered my own question for my. I didn't
Well,
even need to ask you guys that
yeah,
question.
but I wanted to share because, listening to both of you, what was interesting to me is thinking about how this quality of will is protective, because having a sense of alignment with God's will and having a sense of purpose keeps us from being pulled into things that aren't like us, right? Like sometimes people have intentions for us that aren't appropriate for us, right? People feel like we should be doing this or that or the other thing. And it may be that maybe they think it's good, but sometimes it's very self-serving to them, right? But when our will, like you said, Cora, little will is aligned with God's will, we've got some boundaries, right? We've got some boundaries. Like, no, I'm this is who I am, and so I really love, Nancy, in the presentation that you did. It also showed up in my cards that this emerald quality is one of clarity, right? That we see clearly where we are going. Like, this is my purpose and not this other thing, right? That's what just came up for me as we were having this conversation.
And that whole notion of protection, not to, just do anything willy-nilly,
Right.
um,
Right.
being, distracted and persuaded to do things. And it's important, for a human being to be grounded in that way. We can call it will and, our instincts and all of that. So will, it's a good thing to have when you have that perspective. It's all about the intentionality, right, of the will. So yeah.
So I have a follow-up question to that. And either of you, like, why is it not advisable to say, I will do that, and then not follow through?
Well,
What?
shall I go?
Yeah.
Emma's jumping out of her skin.
No, I'm not. I mean, it's such a scary thought.
Well, to me, it's about integrity. It really is about integrity. I mean, if you say you're going to do something, if you say I will, and then you don't, then you didn't keep your word. You let someone down. And it depends, of course, on how big a task it was that you said you would do. Will go to the store and get the half and half, right? Now, if you don't do that, you might be upset the next day. If you told your person that you were going to do it, you didn't do it. They didn't have their half and half in the coffee in the morning. You said you were going to do it. You didn't do it, but you still should have done it, right? Because you said you were. And you can kind of get sort of entangled in that a little bit, but it really is important that if you say you're going to do something, if you use those words, I will, then to me, you should do it. Unless you can't, then you tell the person, I know I said I will, but I won't be able to. Sorry.
Yeah. It's powerful to say I will. Tamara?
It's very, very powerful. You got to think about it.
Maybe it's because you asked the question, Cora, but
What does that mean?
As people get to know us, they will notice that we have interesting perspectives and approaches to the calendar. But because you asked the question, what came up for me was, who are we invoking when we say "I will"?
Mm.
And then, so it's not just that I've let somebody down, I've invoked God down, right? I've
Mhm.
invoked an attribute of God in saying that.
Right.
I've associated this will with me, and then I didn't do it, right? So
Right.
so there's a degree of it becomes bigger to think
It
of it
becomes
that way.
bigger.
It becomes
Right.
much bigger to think of it in those terms, like the language around the word will and calling it into our being as an attribute of God,
Yeah.
and then speaking it.
Yeah.
It makes me think that, unless I know I can do a thing, I should say, I hope to, I
Right.
intend to. I
Right.
should say some other things other than I
Always
will,
safe.
because
Right.
Yeah.
will
Yeah.
is the name of God, right? That's
And you
huge,
know what?
actually.
As a parent, I
Mhm.
think you kind of learn that kind of early on.
Oh, yeah, because children don't let you down.
And they won't let you forget. But you said
You
that
said.
you will. Got to change that up,
Right.
and then it
Right.
becomes maybe, perhaps,
Yeah.
we'll see. That was always my
We'll
favorite.
see. Right.
My kids would go, we'll see. That means no.
Right. Right. Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's see.
Did you have a question, Tamara, you wanted to ask?
Oh,
No. Do I have a question?
Sorry, you wanted
Alice has her hand up. Alice has her hand up.
Yes.
So there you are.
We're going to open that up.
Yeah. Alice,
right?
can you put your question in the chats?
It was a statement.
Yeah.
Can you put it?
Could you
Okay,
put it
can
in
you
the
put it in
chat?
chats?
Because what we're doing right now, Alice, we're just having this kind of three-way conversation. And then if you put your statement or question in the chat, then we'll be able to address it at that time. Okay, thank you so much.
Okay.
Cora,
Yeah.
did you want to do your follow-up?
Oh, sure. If you want another one. If something has occurred, does that mean it was God's will?
Ooh, Cora. Something has occurred.
Yeah.
I think everything is God's will, whether something occurs or doesn't occur. If it doesn't occur, it's God's will. If it occurs, it's God's will. It's like everything is, part of that universe of, what happens and what doesn't happen.
Yeah.
That
Even if it's a difficult thing.
even if it's a difficult thing, that's part of our spiritual journey and our spiritual walk, learning from these challenges that is life. So yeah. Pam?
So first of all, Alice put in the chats, my mother taught me to say, I will do something God willing, right?
Uh-huh.
And I wrote right behind it, inshallah, which
Mhm.
means the same thing, God willing. One of the big concepts that, I hope that somewhere down the line we get to talk about, maybe one day we'll have, technically it's Friday here on the East Coast already, and Friday is the idea of independence, but also the idea of reading the reality, right? And that's a big concept in the Baha'i faith. The House of Justice is always encouraging us to read our reality. There's a concept in the Quran. It says what in Islam. I don't know if it's in the Quran, but there's a concept in Islam that says what happened is written.
Mhm.
And so, and then in Christianity, they talk about God's permissive will and his intended will, right? So which they perceive as being two different things. But in any event, nothing is outside of God's will. So if it's happened, I think, yes, I think it is God's will if it happened, because that's part of the reality that is the book that we have to read and then make our adjustments in accordance with what is actually real. Oh,
Yeah.
and then Lorraine offers us, whatever God hath willed hath been, and that which he hath not willed shall not be. That's the Bob.
She
Yes.
gets the gold star. She got the quote.
You know, whether it happens or it doesn't happen, it's God's will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Well,
Tamara, did you have a question? Did you ask us a question?
I did not. I did not. I did. Oh, Anna said that's my dad's favorite quote. He says to me, "Oh, Lorraine, you win. You win several times over, Lorraine."
Did you
Right.
want to ask a question?
You know, we've got 14, 13 seconds left. We're at 7:27. I'll ask my question. I think I have a little, we don't have time, but I can throw it out there.
Yeah.
As we close, but we're gonna get the beautiful fanfare in just a minute.
Everyone, please take a bow. The end of Act 1.
Okay, I know some folks didn't hear that, but those of us who heard it, we've been thinking this is the most hilarious thing on the planet, that the Zoom suddenly does this. But yeah, no, I mean, I kind of talked about this already, but I'm interested in the fact that the Bob placed the month of Mashiyyat will, which seems so firm and fixed, in the water months. That seems like an interesting juxtaposition. And so I just wanted to toss it out there. Like, what do we think is the balance between this idea of water and unity, exaltation of unity, death of self, and this idea of will?
So we have what, 2 minutes? Because
I'm gonna give us an extra 2 minutes. That's what I'm gonna do. As soon as I can figure out how to do that. Yeah, I see it. Okay.
other things to do. But Cora, did you want to go?
Sure. Again, I think it's, well, okay. So I'll go back to that quote that I opened with about nature is God's will. And when I think about nature being God's will, you know, they don't have a choice, right? The animals, they don't have a choice. They just are, they just do. But humans, that's our gift, right? That's the gift that the divine gave us, is this will. And that's sort of mutable, right? It's sort of like water. To me, a lot of humans out there think that it's a choice. It's a choice. I can choose to do this. I can will myself to do this or not. And so for me, that is sort of like a flow, like water. Over to you, Nancy.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. And you know, I think, yeah, will is kind of this kind, it's sort of the symbol of life, water, right? Water is life. Without water, there is no life. And I think, I mean, I don't know, because will seems so strong and definitive that there always needs to be a balance, so that we understand that, you know, there are all of these things that we need to balance in our lives. The softness, the flowiness of water, and the definitive hardcoreness, if you will, of will. You know, there are always these kind of juxtapositions in our everything. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. The end. Curtain call. I love it. I love a good curtain call.